Hello, everyone. Good evening and welcome to this webinar organized by Docsity in partnership with Southern Denmark University. Thank you very much for being here with us tonight. Just bear with us for a couple of minutes until we give everyone the chance to join. We tonight are expecting so many people from so many different countries around the world. So in the meantime, we invite you to discover the chat box right here below. It's just to, if you want to say hi and to tell us where you're watching us from today. During the webinar, we invite you to leave your questions on the Q&A box that you will also find here in the Zoom menu, and we will answer them at the end of the presentation during the Q&A session. Today's webinar is about studying engineering and working in the country with the best work-life balance in the world, which is Denmark. And our speakers tonight will be Signe Lund, the International Officer at the Faculty of Engineering. Also, we have the honor to have with us Sophie Hansen, who is an international master student who will tell us everything about her experience as a student at Southern Denmark University. So I see more people joining. Just bear with us for a couple of minutes until we give everyone the chance to join in. My name is Lucia from Docsity, and I'm honored to present this webinar organized by Docsity in partnership with Southern Denmark University. Tonight we are going to talk about studying engineering and working in the country with the best work-life balance in the world, which is Denmark. And with us we have Signe Lund from the International Officer at the Faculty of Engineering, and also Sophie Hansen, who is an international master student, and she will tell us everything about her experience as a student in the Southern Denmark University. Then, in the meantime, while we wait for everyone to join, we invite you to start writing in the chat box. You will find it here below in the Zoom menu to say hi, to tell us who you're connected from. And also, if you have any questions coming up during the presentation, you can put them on the Q&A box, also available in the Zoom menu. And our speakers tonight will answer them all at the end of the presentation. So now, without further ado, I will give the floor to Signe Lund. As I said before, she is an international officer at the Faculty of Engineering at the Southern Denmark University. And also we will have in our panel Sophie Hansen, who is a student from the International Master at Southern Denmark University. So I will leave you the floor now and enjoy the presentation.
Thank you very much. And it's lovely to see so many people connecting. I will share my PowerPoint, my screen with you guys. And oops, just a second. So welcome, first of all, to our webinar. We are super happy to see so many people. Of course, we're hoping that a few more will join, and just feel free to answer or ask whichever question you'd like, and we'll do our best to answer them. So as Lucia also already mentioned, this webinar is mainly going to be talking about the work-life balance in Denmark, also for students, of course, so study life balance, if you will. But first of all, my name is Signe. I am the International Officer at the Faculty of Engineering. So I do a lot of these webinars, do fairs, and if you have any questions, you are more than welcome to reach out to us through Docsity's website or directly. There's also going to be at the last slide, we're going to have our website set up, because we also do have a newsletter in there. And we also have the option to do something that we call Student for a Day. And with me, I have Sophie.
Yeah, hi, I'm Sophie, and I studied both my bachelor and master in mechatronics at SDU. So you can ask me any questions. I've been here for a lot of years now, so I know the campus quite well and the study system. So yes, feel free to ask any questions you might have.
So the work-life balance in Denmark is the main topic today, and of course also how to study with us in Denmark. So when looking at work-life balances around the world, Denmark is overall, or Copenhagen is overall the city that shows up as the #1 place with the best work-life balance. We're going to get back to in a bit why that is. I found one study that showed that Denmark was not #1, we were #2, and Italy was #1. However, Copenhagen has by far the highest score of 70.5. #2 is Helsinki in Finland, which only had 65.5, or sorry, 0.1 in the score at Forbes. So yeah, and Copenhagen has a lot of it has a really high score, and a lot of the things that does make Copenhagen the #1 city when it comes to work-life balance also counts for the rest of the country. So the main pointers is that we do have a very flexible working time. In Denmark, usually you work 37 hours a week, which is not a lot. In many places, we've also started to test a bit if you should maybe, instead of having a 5-day work week, only have a 4-day work week. You're also allowed to do an annual leave, or you could go to the doctors or dentists or hairdressers during working hours. You also have a paternity leave of 52 weeks, which is quite a lot. It's a full year. And then you can split it between the parents, both parents, however you see fit. The unemployment rate is also extremely low in Denmark. So that's definitely also something that is going to make it not stressful for you when you are looking for a job. And also when you are in a job, the job security is quite good. Another thing is, of course, as some of you might have heard, the Danish word hygge, which is something that can be used for describing a lot of things. It's a lot of just living and being in the moment, just relaxing, enjoying the, as it says, life's quieter pleasures, just relaxing, being with friends. And then, of course, also during studies, but also during your work, we do have a very flat hierarchy in Denmark. We do not use sir, madam, or anything like that. We see our students as equal. Of course, we do also teach, and there's a lot to learn. But on the other hand, there's also a lot of impressions going the other way. So if you are not quite agreeing with your professors, you are more than welcome to state your opinion and then have some good conversations with them. Same with your boss. Afterwards, you could easily go grab a beer with your boss, relax. A lot of workplaces and every university in Denmark have a Friday bar. And especially in the university, there's staff that's going there, there's students going there, and it's just a really nice and relaxing place, fun place to go. Sophie, you have a few experiences as well with this. Could you mention some?
Yes, I can sure say a bit about that, because I also had a student job for some time now while I'm studying at the same time. And both the schedule at the university is so flexible that it allows you to work a day full time and then squeeze in a couple of hours more over the other days. And that, of course, also requires that the company you work at is also relatively flexible in when you work, and they really are. So, for example, if you have exam periods, then they often allow you to work a couple of hours less and then catch up on the hours again in the summer. So the work and study balance is also very flexible and relaxed in Denmark. And then I also find that because we do a lot of group work in Denmark, and specifically at SDU as well, that also means that you kind of share the load of studying together, and then you can always support each other. And we really put a lot of effort on that at SDU.
Definitely. And it's just really, really nice to hang out. And that's also part of the hygge lifestyle culture that we see. And yeah, it's just really good. And also, as Sophie mentioned, she had a part-time job and also already has a job after she graduates next week.
Yes.
And and also the unemployment rate, I said, is very, very low in Denmark. The youth unemployment rate are, of course, usually a bit higher, as it is in most countries. It's still around 5%. The unemployment rate all over is approximately 2.4%. So it's very, very few people who don't have a job. And especially also when looking at the youth unemployment rate, those also count on students that have part-time jobs. So as she said, as Sophie said, it's a lot of students, and it's very normal to have a part-time job as a student, which also shows just how flexible you can be with your classes and schedule at university.
And often those student jobs also lead to a full-time job afterwards. Like if you do good in your student position, if you work, of course, in a relevant field for your later study and for your later work as well, then it's often very likely that they're going to take you over as a full-time engineer as well when you're done studying, at least if you did a good job. or at least didn't mess up, I guess.
Exactly. So the university, of course, we have two campuses. We have our main campus in Odense, which is the third largest city of Denmark. And it's also kind of known as the fairy tale city of Denmark, because that's where the author Hans Christian Andersen is from, the guy who wrote The Little Mermaid, The Ugly Duckling, Ice Queen, which inspired Frozen. So yeah, there's a theme park there. You can see his house, and it's just also some very nice, cozy streets in the old town. It's also a very strong robotics hub with companies like Universal Robots and a lot of other companies. There are lots of labs and workshops for students there to use. Same in Sundabo, there are labs and workshops that you can use pretty much 24/7. And then in Odense, we have a housing guarantee as well. Unfortunately, we do not have that in Sundabo, our second campus, but we are working towards it. So we are going to make sure that everyone has a place to stay. And of course, also here in Odense, we only have our engineering master programs in English. All the bachelors are in Sundabo. We have quite everything in Sundabo is taught in English. So we have quite a few study programs here. In Sundabo, also, we have more than 75% international students. I think we're now up above 80% of international students, which is quite a lot. It's an amazing environment as well. And even if you don't speak a word of Danish, you can still have a part-time job. You can still do a lot of things. And because so many students are coming to Denmark from all over, it's also easy to get to know other people, just because no one really knows anyone when they arrive. So everyone gets together and tries to get to know each other and be friends. We work a lot in smaller groups on projects. At least a third of your semesters will be based on practical experience, some of it also with companies. We have companies sometimes coming to our university asking for help with a project or asking for help to develop a solution or something like that. And then, of course, we have a very modern campus, the one that you can see behind Sophie and I, directly at the waterfront. And it's not just a small lake or river or something like that. It is the Baltic Sea that comes in. And as you can see, there are also, whoops, wrong side, there are also boats sailing around. So it is the ocean, and it's lovely, really. And here are a few pictures of the city itself. It's a somewhat smaller city, so not about most people don't know it. Only around 30,000 people living there, but it is a very active city, and since it's located on an island as well, the main city, there are a lot of water sports. There are tons of activities in general as well. You can go bowling, play laser tag, paintball in the area. There are some different escape rooms, and then of course, as I mentioned before, down in the left corner of the PowerPoint, you can also see our student bar. And then the study programs, I'm not going to talk too much about them because you've all seen them on the Docsity SDU page. So yeah, here they are, and we are hoping to open up some more study programs really soon. And here are a few pictures from the inside of our campus. As I said before as well, it's a very modern campus. It's very light and open, directly at the waterfront. So in the cafeteria itself, and also in our library, we do actually have trees, and they're real trees, not just plastic. So in the winter time, we also put in lights just to make it a bit more cozy. And again, this Danish hygge kind of comes in, and people are just super friendly as well. And as I said, it's very hands-on, and it's not just something I say, it's actually very much so, which is also why we have some of the pictures here. We also have some really good facilities. The top picture is from our clean room, which is one of the few in Europe which has a class 100. So we have companies, other universities coming to our university and using the facilities as well. So this is an example of one of the semester projects that are done on the bachelor level. So it is innovation based, it is very practical, and the students get an assignment. In the beginning, of course, it's going to be somewhat limited, or at least there's going to be some inspirational ideas. And then you decide as students how you want to do this. And it's the same for both bachelors and masters, that you will be able to have some creativity of your own and you will do some semester projects and group works. This particular semester project was that the students, or the smaller groups of students, had to be inspired by an animal, make a robot that they also had to develop and program to climb a fence or a ladder or a rope. In this particular scenario, they got inspired by a gecko, developed the model, and then built the actual robot. And as you can see on the top, there are some sensors. So when it goes up the ropes, the sensors, say that it's at the top, and then it goes down again. Sophie, did you work with a project like this?
Yes, exactly. Because every semester we have a semester project. So you actually get to apply all the knowledge that you gathered in one semester in the theoretical courses, and actually get to use it and see how you can use it. And also because especially mechatronics, for example, one of the programs we have, also there the big part is also just combining the different components, electronics and mechanics, and how to program everything. And there you actually get to learn how to do that in the semester projects. And I think apart from actually applying all the knowledge, the semester projects are also really important to develop your soft skills, to learn how to communicate, to learn how to work in a group, how to group management and project management as well, which is of course very important soft skills later for the work market, and that are going to place you better in out there.
Definitely. And that is very important, to try and close the gap between studying and then working afterwards, because too many people come out the other end and do not know how they use the skills that they've gained. Which is perfectly leading up to our next theme, which is our university has, for all of the study programs in Sønderborg, on our international campus, we have a first job guarantee. As I said before, a lot of students already, and also as Sophie said before, a lot of students already have a job from where they did their internship or where they had their part-time job, where they are hired full-time after they graduate. However, for those who unfortunately did not have that opportunity, we do have a first job guarantee. And the first job guarantee is not an internship. It's for 6 months, but it is as a real engineer afterwards. And then you have 6 months to prove how to work, or how good of a worker you are, in order to hopefully get a permanent position afterwards. I do have a short movie that I'd like to show you.
Local companies and the University of Southern Denmark has joined forces to create First Job Guarantee. The First Job Guarantee guarantees the new graduates a 6-month employment at a local company. It is not an internship. It's a real job with a minimum salary of 5,000 euros per month.
The companies behind the First Job Guarantee is a mix of large international companies, medium-sized and small companies.
We need young engineering talents. That's the reason why we offer you a job guarantee.
So as you heard, it's quite a good first starting salary for an engineer. And there are just a lot of benefits. The companies do very much want you, and it's not just small local companies, which are great to start in because then you get a lot of diverse roles, but it's also big international companies like Danfoss, Linag, which are multinational companies. The one company that most people probably know from Denmark is Lego. We do work quite a lot together with them as well, also for projects, but unfortunately they're not yet in the first job guarantee. We are hoping to get them soon, but fingers crossed, let's hope for the best. In order to get this first job guarantee, there are a few requirements. The first one is that you have to collaborate with the company during your studies. It can either be an in-company project, it can be an internship, or you can write your master or bachelor thesis with a said with any company, pretty much, as long as it's with a company. Semester projects do not count. They are not big enough projects. The second one is that you have to finish your degree within a set time, so you're not allowed to delay your degree. And then last but not least, you need to get to a B1 level of Danish. I know this is definitely the hardest part, but we do offer Danish classes for all students, and it's actually not too bad. It's only a B1 level. The hardest part about learning Danish is probably getting to practice it, because we do have a tendency to switch to English as soon as we can hear someone struggling. So just insist on practicing Danish and then you will get there. I know, Sophie, you also took some Danish classes while studying.
Exactly, yeah. And they're pretty great, both for socializing because you get to know some more people, but also because you're actually in an environment where you don't have the situation that Sina just mentioned, because everyone wants to learn Danish so people can speak and learn Danish together. So it's a really nice way. It's just a couple of hours per week after classes, so it does not come in any conflict with your normal schedule. And then you just get to learn the language on the side. So that's a very nice opportunity.
Definitely. And it's also just, especially if you want to stay in Denmark afterwards, it's a great opportunity. It gives you some more options as well, not just for jobs afterwards, but also for student jobs. And it's just also great work, or a great way to integrate with not just university people, but also other local people, and to learn a bit about the Danish culture as well, of course. So some of the other things, of course, we've already talked about our practical experience with some of the different group work and how group oriented we are. There is one other thing that I would very much like to mention for you, which is the SDU Entrepreneurship Labs. Because we have these labs, SDU is now the #1 university in Denmark when it comes to startups. We have the most startups by students, but more importantly, we also have most successful startups by students. We actually have 40% more startups by students than the #2 university in Denmark, which is Copenhagen Business School. So if you are planning to have your own company at some point, we would be a great bet for you. And we can help you with pretty much every step of the way to becoming your own boss. We can help you with making a business plan, to investigate markets. We have an, what's it called? An auditorium lab, so you can actually go in and we can record how you pitch your ideas to get funding, and then you can listen to it yourself. You can practice and make everything sound even better than it already is. So if you have a small, entrepreneur in your stomach, you can definitely come study with us. Then we also have some housing. As I mentioned before, we do have a housing guarantee in Odense, but not everywhere, unfortunately. However, it's not expensive to find housing. I know that a lot of people think Denmark's extremely expensive, but it's actually quite doable, especially when living in student housing or not living in the major cities of Denmark. It's very, very, I don't want to say inexpensive, but it's very, very doable, and you can definitely live with it as well. So housing, for example, in dormitories are typically around 260 to 400 euros a month, which also makes it a bit easier to have this work-life balance. So you will have time to earn some money from a job. You will have time to still enjoy and spend more money on just socializing and doing fun things. And the prices are usually always with including heat, water, electricity, and internet as well. And if you live in a dormitory, you have 3 choices. You can either choose to have your own studio apartment with your own kitchen and bathroom. You could also choose to share the kitchen with other people, and then you'll still have your own bathroom and living space. Or you could choose a shared apartment. So typically, if you have a significant other, siblings or friends that would like to study with you as well in Denmark, as long as one of you are studying and enrolled in a university, you can live in student housing. And then you just split the bill. And if you have a housing or a student flat for 400 euros a month and you're 2 people paying that, it's only 200 euros each. So it's actually really good. And then, of course, the student jobs, you do not need to know Danish in order to have a student job. Of course, as I said, knowing Danish, or at least practicing Danish, does give you a few more options, but there are a lot of options as well for not having to know any Danish. I mean, you can work in hospitality, in retail, of course, there are cleaning jobs, delivering newspapers, but you can also work in supermarkets, cafes, restaurants, have to do with customers every day. More than 90% of the Danish population, I think it's 96 or 98% of the Danish population speaks English. So it's really not an issue. And the minimum salary in Denmark that you should accept over the age of 18 is 13.5 euro an hour. That's approximately 100 Danish crowns an hour. As a small tip, if a place wants to pay you less than 100 Danish crowns an hour, so they're not part of a union. In Denmark, the minimum salary is not set by law, it's set by unions. So if a place is not part of a union, they can technically pay you less. I wouldn't go there, because that also means that they do not necessarily respect your rights as a student worker. They're not protecting you probably. So find a place that pays you 100 Danish crowns, 13.5 euros an hour or more. Sophie is used to be one of our, or is still one of our student ambassadors. University also hires quite a few students, also for research.
I think Sina froze.
Yes, I think she might be having some connection problem. Her screen froze. So
Yeah,
we'll
but
wait.
yeah,
a
otherwise
couple-
I can try to continue for
Sure, go ahead.
Sina basically. Yeah, so we have other student job opportunities, of course, as well. Like you can also try to get a student job in one of the bigger companies in the area, like I did, for example, where you can also apply some of your technical knowledge. So it doesn't have to be has to be a job in the cleaning or in a hotel or something. And Sina's back, I think.
There she is.
Terribly
Yeah,
sorry.
welcome back.
Thank you very much. I'm at the moment in Lithuania, so my connection might not be the most stable in these lovely hotels. So yeah, I don't know how much I managed to say before getting disconnected and what you took over, Sophie, but
yeah, I basically said that that you can also work in technical companies, of course, as well, that are relevant for the study. But there is, as Sina said, also a lot of jobs at the university where you can both help with teaching, be a tutor, you can become an ambassador, and yeah, help tell more people about the University of Southern Denmark. Or you can also help with some research. So there's really a lot of a broad range of opportunities to get a student job, as long as you start looking for them.
Exactly, yes, perfect. Thank you so much. And also we do something that we call, now I completely lost the thread, I'm terribly sorry, matchmaking events, and also job fairs on campus where you can meet with companies, you can give them your resume, you can do some networking and just find the job that's really relevant for you, especially if you want to work with a company that's more relevant for your study program. Wonderful. Yeah, Sophie, would you like to talk a bit about the housing?
Yes, Sina also mentioned it before already. We have different dorms, especially like these are examples from our dorms in Sønderborg now. And there we have approximately 5 or 6 all over the town. So you can choose if you want to be close to the city center, close to the water, close to shopping, whatever you prefer. And then, as she mentioned already, there's both opportunities to have your own apartment, but you can also have a shared kitchen if you feel like you want to get to know some more people. That might be a good option, because then you come automatically into contact with the people that you share the kitchen with. But for example, when I moved here, I moved together with a friend, and there for us, for example, it was good to each have our own bathroom, our own room, and then just share the kitchen, the two of us. So that is also an option. So it really depends on whatever you need and whatever you would like to see, in whatever life situation you would like to live in. So there's definitely a lot of different opportunities.
And then, of course, there's some practical information when you come to Denmark, which is also going to make your life a lot easier. So there, of course, when moving to a new country, there are some social, of course, some practical things that needs to be taken care of. And in Denmark, we use something that's called CPR numbers, which is pretty much just our social security number. And you'll get a personalized one based on your birthday. And this social security number or CPR number you use to open bank accounts, you use to get a doctor, a dentist, pretty much anything. And of course, regardless of where you come from, EU, not EU, doesn't matter. You will get a CPR number. You will be able to go to the doctor for free. We had, unfortunately, a case where a student from Colombia fell on his bike, broke his arm. And you don't have to be scared of calling an ambulance. It's free as well. He did get picked up, driven to the emergency room, had an operation, and none of it cost a thing. So you don't have to worry about that. And of course, there's the financing we've already talked about, the student jobs. There are multiple job portals in Denmark, completely in English as well, that you can log into. As soon as you know that you are getting accepted, then you can of course start looking into it. You can also just wait and then talk to companies directly when you're here at the university. We also do have our own job portal. And a thing that I forgot to mention before, which I'm of course gonna say now, if you are non-EU or non-EU citizen, you can still have a part-time job. You can work during the semesters up to 20 hours a week on a student visa. And you can work during the summer, in the summer break, you can work full-time. So even as a non-EU, you don't have to worry about anything like that. And you can also get a really good integration through that, and you can get quite a good amount of money as well. For EU students, there's no upper limit on how many hours, of course, you are allowed to work during your studies. However, not full time. Same for Danish students. Don't study work full time, because you're supposed to study full time, or what is an equivalent to the 37 hours a week, as it would be for a job. But again, you are adults. It's your responsibility. We see you as equals. Then we have some social events.
Exactly, and we have quite a lot of those because at SDU it's a very international campus, as we already mentioned. I think over 65% at least. And that also means that a lot of students come from everywhere, not knowing anyone yet. And that also means that people are much more open to get to know new people in Sønderborg. So it's a really great campus to get to know new people, come in contact with people from all over the world. And it's really fun. And we also have a lot of opportunities from different clubs, organizations. Here, for example, we have some in the events from something called Intro Team. And that's events that happen in the beginning of the first semester, or like in the beginning of every semester, actually. And that are meant for you to get to know your fellow students and also the older students already, and really get integrated in the social life. Then we have, for example, something called Dorm Race, where we go on bikes from dorm to dorm and party in every party room. And with that, of course, you get to know all the locations of the dorms and where the party rooms are, also important information. Yes, so that's one of the events. Then we have something called Intro Tour, where you drive away with your fellow students from the first semester for a weekend, and just to get to know each other, have a lot of fun for a whole weekend. And then we have something that's my favorite event, actually, called Pub Crawl, where we go from pub to pub with all the students together and get to know the downtown party life in Sønderborg. And then the last event is always the intro party, where everyone gets together in the canteen area where the trees are, like Sina showed you earlier. And then we just have a big party there together. So there's a lot of events like that. But of course, we also have a lot of other clubs in Sønderborg. So even if you're not that much into partying and drinking, don't worry. There's a lot of sports. I think they also just started up an SDU Music. So if you play an instrument, you can also join that. So there's a lot of opportunities to get to new people. So don't worry. You will definitely get in contact with some new people when you move to Sønderborg.
Absolutely. And just to briefly mention, of course, again, everyone thinks it's quite expensive in Denmark. The tuition fees are actually not too bad. They are still, of course, quite high, but for Bachelor of Engineering, it's 5,350 euros per semester. For Bachelor of Science and also the Master of Science in Engineering, it is 6,950 euros per semester. We do have a few scholarships. And when you apply for the study program itself, you automatically apply for the, when you apply for the study program itself, you automatically apply for the scholarship as well. So you don't have to send an additional application. We only have scholarships for 2 masters at the moment, which is the master in mechatronics and electronics in Sønderborg. The scholarships are full scholarships plus approximately 3,000 Danish crowns a month to cover other expenses, or some of the other expenses that you might have. EU citizens, EEA citizens do not pay tuition fees in Denmark. So if you are from a different country, from outside the EU, or you do have dual citizenship, use the European one just in case, because then it's going to be much cheaper for you. the tuition fees, I also want to say, they cover everything that has to do with university, except for books. So if you need student counseling or anything like that at all, that is also included. I know some places it's not, but it is, definitely. The application deadline for the bachelor's is always the 15th of March, noon Danish time. Then depending on if you are applying from outside the EU or from inside the EU, the deadline for masters is either the 1st of February or the 1st of March. The reason why the non-EU application is so early is because we need to, of course, give you time for the entire process with visa, but we also need to figure out who's getting internships and who unfortunately will not be getting scholarships. Yes, I'm not going to go into the entire details with all of the admission process. If you have any questions for that, you are more than welcome to ask them in the Q&A, but here's a brief list of some of the document, or actually all the documents that we are needing from you guys. And a language certificate is also needed. The requirements for that is either TOEFL, IELTS, or Cambridge. Cambridge does not expire, so for that we need either C1 or C2. For TOEFL, minimum score of 88, and for IELTS, minimum band average of 6.5. These two expire after 2 years. And then if you want to become student for a day, you can contact us online. You could also sign up online. You can also send me an email directly, and then we will make sure that you can come visit. Student for a day is something that we do for everyone. We can do it online as well. It's a day whenever it suits you. You can come visit our campus. So if there's a national holiday, for example, in Spain or Brazil or Pakistan that we don't have in Denmark, you are more than welcome to use that time to come visit us. And then we will show you around. You can sit in with some of the classes, talk to professors, talk to some of our counselors, talk to our admissions office. And then you can sort of get a taste of how it is to study in Denmark at the University of Southern Denmark. And online, of course, we're happy to do a personal kind of webinar if you'd like, where we just talk to you and tell you a bit about how it is. And we can also definitely include student counselor and admissions office. And of course, also a student that's currently studying what you might be interested in. So, Sophie, is there anything that you would like to add?
I think we rounded off pretty well already. I'm just thinking if there's anything else, but no.
Wonderful.
Okay, thank you very much, Sina and Sophie. So now we can go through with our Q&A session. We already can see a few questions on our Q&A box. We remind our participants that they are still in time to add their own questions to the Q&A box. So we can start with the first question that arrived from Louisa. What's the, I think you went already through this, but if we can remind this for whoever joined later, what is the employment rate in Denmark?
So the employment rate is, what is that? The unemployment rate is 2.4, so that would be 97.6. I'm not great with math, but something around there. If you're talking about the employment rate of our students, before we had the first job guarantee, the employment rate that we could sort of measure were the ones that stayed in the area. And that was approximately, 83% approximately. And that was before we had the first job guarantee. Now that we have it, I think it's closer to 90%. And then of course, that doesn't include the ones that go back to their home country to want to start to working there, or the ones that go to Copenhagen to work or anything like that. So it is quite high.
Okay, so this 90-ish% is about students that found the job in the same city where the university is located.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. So just a high rate of students, they actually say. They don't tend to,
yes.
I mean, just a few of them tend to go abroad or to come back to their home countries. So another question here says, hi, my name is Jana from Brazil. I would like to know if the university has a program to connect international students with job opportunities. We already went through the first job guarantee program. I don't know if you want to briefly go through that. And if there's anything else available, like other internships or network events, something that could work as an opportunity to find a job through the university.
Absolutely. So yeah, we do have the first job guarantee, which means that you are guaranteed a job, six months job after you graduate. And then you have to prove yourself to the employer that you are a good employee, and then hopefully get prolonged extension of your job, hopefully permanent. And then other than that, we do have the matchmaking events. We have fairs on campus where the students can talk to different companies. We do also have the opportunity of an internship if you do a Bachelor of Engineering, which is almost equivalent to the international diploma, which is then 6 months longer than the normal bachelor in Denmark, with a mandatory internship where you can also try out the job that you'd like to have afterwards.
Yeah, and in the master we have something similar. We have something called a company project. There you also get a chance again to do a project together with a company. So no matter if you take your bachelor or your master, you both have the chance during the study already to have some experience or get a foot in the door with a company.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sine and Sophie. We have a peculiar question from Louise again, who is asking why there aren't any buildings near the university.
It is a bit difficult to see on the picture. In the back here, there are tons of housing. We don't have a lot of skyscrapers in Denmark. That's probably why it's a bit hard to see. And this is not where the main city is. Right over approximately here, there is a bridge going over to the main city of Sønderborg. And of course, the bridge is only, I don't know, maybe 150, 200 meters long. And there we have the main city and a lot of buildings as well. This is more towards countryside.
Understood. Thank you very much. So we remind our participants that they're still in time to leave their questions in the Q&A box. And here another student is asking if you could tell more about accommodation for international students.
Yeah, I can try to do that because we have basically all these dorms are organized by one company called Studiebolig, and they basically, you just apply through that one portal, and there you can apply for all the different dormitories and rate them and prioritize them depending on which one you want. So that's exactly the same for international students as it is for Danish students. There's no difference. But if you don't want to live in a dormitory, a lot of people also try to find shared apartment downtown. And we have always Facebook groups for each year where all the students join and also try to find other people that might need a roommate. So if you decide that you would rather live downtown instead of one of the dormitories, that is of course also an option. So either dorms or a shared flat downtown.
Okay, Sophie, thank you very much. There's actually a question directly for you. Hello, Sophie. Which do you think is the main challenge for a foreign student arriving in Denmark?
Well, that's hard to say because in my point of view, there's not really any big challenges because they really try to help you a lot. Also in the beginning of the semester, there's always someone coming trying to help you with all the CPR, the yellow card that Sine mentioned. So there's actually a lot of support, a lot of guidance, especially also for these official documents and so on. And yeah, in terms of connecting, for example, with other students, they also really have a lot of events where you can get together in the beginning of the semester. So maybe the hardest challenge is learning the pronunciation of the language, because that can be a bit hard sometimes. I'm from Germany myself, and we sometimes say that Danish is a bit like speaking German with a potato in the mouth, and it takes a bit of time to get to know these how to roll all the letters. I think that may be the hardest challenge, but you also get a hang of that after some time.
Understood. Thank you very much, Sophie. So the best thing, would you say it is the fact that people are so welcoming and so willing to help you when you first arrive, or if there's anything else of positive that you would like to add?
I think in general, because it's so international in Sønderborg, right? Like that there's so many international students, you can always ask for help because a lot of people have been through the same process and everyone's very open and welcoming. So I think you're not going to be the one international student at SDU Sønderborg because so many are just in the same shoes as you are. So I think don't worry about that.
Okay, thank you very much, Sophie. It's really precious to see the experience from the from the people who has just lived it. So we have here another question about the degrees offered. Of course, we cannot go in detail because we don't have much of a time, but if you could just name them briefly.
Yes, so the degrees offered are for the bachelor's, we have mechanical engineering, we also have mechatronics, electronics, then we have our business engineer called engineering, innovation and business. And then this year we're starting software engineering as well. We're hoping that next year we're going to offer software technology, but let's see. For the master's, we have, again, business engineering, innovation and business. Then we have our software engineering in Odense. We also have robotics in Odense, robot systems. And then again, back in Sonneborg, we have mechatronics. We also have electronics. And then hopefully, again, next year, we're going to open up the master in mechanical engineering as well.
Understood. Thank you. Yes.
And physics and technology.
Okay.
Quite
a broad offer. Thank you very much, Sina. So we have here a few questions about the admission process. So we will start with Luisa saying just simply to explain the admission process. And she say, I love the webinar, very enlightening. Is in hacks from Brazil. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much. So the admission process is all online. We have different portals in Denmark. We use the same at every university, every education system or institution. The bachelors use a website called optagelse.dk, pretty much just means admission.dk, and you can apply for up to 8 different study programs in all of Denmark, prioritized, of course. And then you upload all the documents that you have. The deadline, as I said before, is the 15th of March at noon Danish time. So have to be careful with that. And yeah, of course, at that point, most people do not have their final diploma yet, but that can wait. Same with the language certificate, that can wait. But upload your motivation letter, your citizenship, your transcript records, and statement of hours in the required classes. Then you have, or we have our own unit test, which is again online. You sign up for it, and then you have, I think, 2.5 hours to answer 95 questions. And it's not a test that we want you to prepare for or study for. It's a lot of understanding and answering questions in English, logical thinking, and just pretty much if you're ready to study at a university level, basically. And then you have till the 5th of July to upload language certificate, either IELTS, Cambridge or TOEFL, and also to upload your final diploma. If you know already when you're applying that you're not going to have your final diploma by the 5th of July, because some countries don't give them out until the 12th or the 15th of July. So you just let us know as soon as you know that you're not going to have your final diploma by the 5th of July, and then we can push the deadline almost as far back as you need it, but no later than the 31st of August. That at that point we do need to have all documents because the semester starts at the 1st of September. And that's pretty much the process for the bachelor's. And then for the master's, you upload all your documents at the deadline. Unfortunately, that's also going to be online. We use a different platform, and you can apply for up to 3 different study programs at SDU. You can also apply for 3 different study programs at 2 other universities. So 9 programs all in all. We do not have a test, but we do for all non-EU. Since you are automatically applying for the scholarship, we do have some interviews, and we're looking at your different backgrounds, your motivational letter, your GPA, your pretty much anything. And then, of course, we are trying to give you an answer as soon as possible. But yeah, that is pretty much the entire process.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Sina. So we have a lot of questions about what is the required GPA and if there is an admission exam or admission test to start different programs.
Yes, so the admission test that we have is only for bachelors. And then we have the interview for the master programs for non-EU for the scholarship. The required GPA for the study programs that we are talking about today, or the most of our study programs, we do not have a minimum GPA as such. We do, of course, depending on how many students apply, we do have a GPA, but if you do the unit test for the bachelor and you pass that one, we do not look at your GPA. The GPA for, let's say, robotics, for example, it's not super high. We don't really use GPA a lot in Denmark. So if it's a bit above average, it's great. One of the reasons why is because we're still not super well known and we need a lot of engineers in Denmark. So that is why we look at motivational letter instead. We want to see our applicants and our students as whole humans, not just top GPA students. Of course, it's always good to have a good GPA, but we are as much looking at your motivational letter. Is this the right study program for you? And we would rather have students that are super motivated and really into the study program than students who got all A's and are pretty much just chilling in the background, don't really want to do anything. So yeah.
Understood. Understood. The attitude changes makes a difference, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Sina. We still have a few minutes if anyone else wants to add a question. In the meantime, you had a slide dedicated to the language certificates. We have actually a question about that. So if we could just review that part of the language certificates.
Absolutely. Let me just, whoops, get the right one. So that was, whoops, that one. So it's either, whoops, that was one too far. It's either IELTS, Cambridge, or TOEFL. And I know there's been a lot of other language certificates coming up during COVID, but those we do not use. Duolingo, for example, it's not one that we use. But IELTS, minimum of 6.5 band average, as long as you don't have anything lower than 5.5 in any other categories, that's great. TOEFL minimum score of 88. It's a bit higher than some of the other universities in Denmark, but it's still very doable. And then Cambridge, either C1 or C2 proficiencies.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Sina. And the programs are fully in English, right?
Yes.
Okay. And we just remind the audience that you can take some Danish lessons if you'd like to at Southern Denmark University. As Sophie said, it's a great opportunity to learn a new language and also to make some friends who are in the same situation as you. Then we have a question about the bachelor programs, if they are BTech or BSc.
So we have BSc and we call it Bachelor of Engineering, which is almost the same as BTech. The BTech or the Bachelor of Engineering is a 3.5-year study program with a mandatory internship. It's going to be a bit more practical, but otherwise a lot of the same. And then we have the Bachelor of Science in Engineering, of course, as well. Sophie, you did a Bachelor of Engineering program, right?
Yes, and afterwards still a master, because a lot of people are under the impression that you have to do the Bachelor of Science to take the master as well afterwards, because of course then you don't have this half-year gap, because you can only start in the winter semester for us. So if you do the Bachelor of Engineering and then want to take a master afterwards, then you're going to end up with half-a-year gap. But I've myself found that very useful, because then I could work for full time for half a year and also get some work experience. So I had my internship, for example, in a company, wrote my thesis with them afterwards, worked there full time for half a year, and then started my master afterwards. So that's basically, you can combine Bachelor of Science and Bachelor of Engineering with a master however you wish. But if you want to stop after a bachelor, then you should take the Bachelor of Engineering, because that is the right bachelor to take if you don't want to take a master, in that order. Exactly.
Thank you very much to both of you. Then Yanni came back, but also we have another question that I would like to read first. I have a physical disability. I can walk without assistance, but I use a prosthesis on my legs. In my work for the students, is it accepted? Because I know there are many prejudices, and I don't know how is it there in Brazil, for example, it's not common.
We do have students and also staff with disabilities. Everything on campus is accessible for everyone. We have staff that's in wheelchairs. I don't think we have any, at least I haven't noticed anyone with a prosthetic leg, or arm or anything for that matter, but it's definitely not an issue. And if you need any specific tools for anything study, we also do have a department that can help with that. Personally, I do also have not necessarily disability as such, but I do have some medical issues. And if you need any assistance as well for housing or for your personal life, the municipality in Sonderborg is also really great. They've helped me with a lot of stuff. And again, it's also for free if you are a student in Denmark.
Thank you very much, Sina. I think that is very comforting for someone who is in that situation. Then we finally have this question from Jane. I saw the master program of chemical engineering and biotechnology. Is it only for Odense?
Yes, it's we do have chemical engineering and biotechnology. It's located at our main campus in Odense. It's not one that I've talked about here because we're not actively recruiting for it, but we do have the study program. It's a very, very cool study program as well. Well, they are working with a lot of different areas. Recently, they also started working a lot more with CBD and hemp oil and stuff like that. And they also, of course, have a lot of labs. They work with, chemical medicine, biomedicine, and also fully in English. And it's at the main campus in Odense, yes.
That's very interesting. Thank you very much. Another question just came in. I didn't quite understand well about the scholarships from non-EU citizens. Is there a full scholarship of master degrees for international students?
Yes. So the scholarships, you automatically apply for them. So we do not need a secondary application. It happens
Just
automatically.
With your application, you're eligible for the...
Exactly, yes. And then after you've applied, you will be called in for for an interview. Then they look at your motivational letter, your background, GPA in this case as well, but again, it's not the most important. Language certificate, and then the scholarship. If you are given a scholarship, you will get a full scholarship. You'll get a full scholarship that covers the entire tuition fee. Plus, you will also get approximately 3,000 Danish crowns, which is roughly 400 euros a month, to cover stuff like living expenses, food, and a bit more than that. It's not going to cover all of your expenses, but there would need to be either a job or something else, but it will cover your entire scholarship, your entire tuition fees. And it's not just for 1 year, it's for the entire duration of your master. Unfortunately, the scholarships that we have are not a lot. We only have approximately, I think it's 24 scholarships. So it is, we cannot promise anyone that they will get a scholarship, unfortunately. But they are full scholarships, and they're only given to students applying for the masters in electronics and in mechatronics.
Okay, understood. Thank you very much, Sina. So, okay, now that this is also something that we went through, but we can happily review it. Are students allowed to work while studying?
Yes, definitely. On a student visa for non-EU, up to 20 hours a week during the semesters. In the summer break, full-time. As non-EUs, a lot more, but not full-time, of course, because your studies are supposed to take up your time mainly. And then,
I
think
having a student visa, you're supposed to study, right? All staying in Denmark. Sorry, Sophie, what you were saying?
I just wanted to mention that usually the student jobs, if we take a technical student job, then it's around 12 to 16 hours. That's usually typical for a contract if you start in a big technical company here, just so you have an idea what's normal basically as a student job besides the study.
Oh, that's an interesting piece of information. Thank you very much, Sophie. So we are arriving to the end of this presentation. Unfortunately, I know our participants still may have a lot of questions, and some of them will come up after the event. I just put for everyone on the chat box the website address that Sina shared on her presentation. If you'd like to have more information, then remember that you will receive a thank you email tomorrow with the registration of this webinar. In case you want to review it, you want to share with your friends, or for whoever wasn't able to participate today, and also some useful links and the brochure of the programs from Southern Denmark University. Also, if any of you would like to request the certificate of attendance issued by Docsity, you have to send your request via email at webinar@docsity.com, indicating the webinar you're referring to, first and last name, and the email address you use to register for this presentation. So just as a way to close, I would like to ask Sophie and Sina to leave a final message to our audience to encourage them to join Southern Denmark University.
Sophie, would you like to start?
I can so start. Yeah, I hope that we gave you a good overview of studying in Denmark and how it generally is to study in Denmark, and also especially at SDU. Yes, and if you have any questions, of course, you can always reach out to us. We're happy to answer them. Of course, also happy to see you in Sønderborg at some point.
Yes, and just to sum up as well, you are going to get a great experience with work-life balance. You can do a lot during your studies. You'll be socialized a lot, and I just saw there was a Q&A as well. I'm going to include that. You do not need any other language requirements than English. It's going to be so much fun, a lot of international students that you're going to study with. And of course, we hope to see you all in Denmark at some point, hopefully at SDU.
Okay, thank you very much, Sina and Sophie. Thank you very much to our audience, who was very interactive tonight with a lot of questions. And we saw also a message thanking, saying thanks for this presentation, who was really great. So again, thank you very much, Sina and Sophie, for such a wonderful presentation, and thank you very much for whoever was able to join us today, and especially for whoever managed to stay until the end. And we would love to see you again in the next webinars organized by Docsity in partnership with Southern Denmark University. Have a nice day.
Bye.
Bye.